Radio TV Phono Nut here, and we're using the old camera right now because the batteries are charging for the good camera, and I want to get this done. So here we are. What we have here is a little package from China, and before we get off into the contents, I'll just give you a little demonstration about how broken the United States postal delivery is. Ordered this from China. I think it was around $30 with free shipping. From the date it was shipped out of China until it arrived in the United States, 4 days. So it took it 4 days to get from China to the United States. Then once the post office gets a hold of it in the United States, it takes them about another 7 days to get it to my location. So yeah, the Chinese can get it from one country to the next in 4 days, but the post office takes 7 to get it somewhere within the United States. And also, anything I've ever bought from China, which hasn't been much, the shipping on it was dirt cheap. Ship something within the United States and you're going to pay out the butt for it, and then they're still going to drag around. So yeah, I think that just illustrates how broken especially the United States Postal Service is. Now, getting on with what's in this little package, I'm sure many of you know who Recordology is. He's the one who's always reviewing more modern record players and some older models. And he recently featured a little AM transmitter, and I was intrigued by it, so I bought one of them. Now, the one he bought, I believe, was off of Amazon and was already assembled. I bought this one off of eBay. I don't know if it's assembled or something that I'm going to have to build, so let's open it up and find out. And maybe the Chinese are capable of packing better than most American eBay sellers, too. At least they wrap this tightly in bubble wrap. So we got the bubble wrap off of it. We got some nice styrofoam here. And from the way it looks, this is pre-assembled. I don't think there's anything I'm going to have to put together here. Alright, this is fully assembled. Looks to be pretty nicely done. Hi-Fi AM, medium wave transmitter, tunable phono oscillator. Yeah, that's a phrase that goes back to the 1930s. Model AMT-MW207 version 132. Designer, radio lover. Date June the 14th, 2024. Yeah, this camera viewfinder also makes a pretty good enlarger. Now, from what I'm reading about these, they do not have a lot of range. They basically have to be right on top of the radio, and the signal is radiated from this ferrite rod antenna here. And it looks like we have 3 transistors, an LED, and a handful of other passive components here. And then we have our variable condenser that we use to set the frequency. And then we have another control for off on, and looks like a level control. This is our 6-volt wall wart input if we choose to operate it off of AC. And then this jack here is for our audio input. And then this plug here is for our battery pack holder, which is mounted on the underside of the unit. Here's some of the paperwork that came with it, all in Chinese. And here's the schematic diagram. And this will take a stereo signal and bridge it for mono. Alright, but I think that manual is translated on YouTube. Let's see what this paper is. I'm sure it's all in Chinese too. Nope, in English. If need tech support or there were problems with the item, please contact me via eBay message. I will reply all messages within 24 hours. Please do not open return case or leave neutral or negative feedback or low stars rating directly. eBay count 4 stars or less as low rating. My email is blah blah blah. Okay, so that part was in English, the rest of it's in Chinese, and this is our audio cable that we can use to plug our stereo audio source into this transmitter. And as luck would have it, I have 4 AA batteries. LED comes on, that's good. Alright, let's get a radio and see if we can tune in a carrier frequency. Let's set this to about, I don't know, about 11 whatever, and see if we can tune in our carrier frequency. Now I admit it would be better if we were doing this in the daytime. Alright, I've got the Grundig Yacht Boy tuned to 1140, so let's energize the transmitter and turn our tuning control and see if we can get a carrier. There we go. Although this thing is very touchy. Our audio source is going to be this cheapo, and we did a video on this a few years back, no name record player / FM radio / USB playback device, and we have our USB drive plugged into the device, into the unit, and we'll be feeding the line output jacks of the playback device into this adapter that will allow RCA to be plugged into a 1/8 inch stereo plug. This is playing through the speakers in the playback device. Concrete and Clay by Unit 4+2. Alright, let's turn the radio on and then the transmitter and see what we get. Okay, let's adjust our tuning. Well, there it is, but there's not much to it, which makes me wonder if maybe this wants to see a headphone output instead of line level. So let's see. And yes, that's exactly what the issue is. It wants to see a headphone output, not a low level line level signal. Okay, there it is, and it has reasonable volume level, and it sounds decent for what it is. A lot better than some cheaper transmitters that I've heard. But as far as the range, let's turn this down a minute. We don't need no copyright bull crap. But as far as the range, what I've read about this is correct. It basically has no range. You get a few feet from it, and it starts to obliterate. So if you're looking for a transmitter, alright, as I was saying before the memory card ran out on me, if you're looking for a transmitter that will broadcast content to all the radios in your house at the same time, then this is not what you're looking for. But if you want something cheap and inexpensive that's battery powered, that you can put next to the radio that you wish to use, then this might be a worthwhile low-cost alternative for you. But for something like this, you would need something like a small MP3 player or phone or whatever that has a headphone jack on it that you can drive it with, and you ought to be in business. Now, Alright, so let's get another radio out and fire it up and see how it sounds on it. Alright, here's another radio. Now this radio is a late 60s AC operated RCA solid state job.
Everyone's gone to the moon.
Alright, let's see.
Fabulous location.
See what all's on this thing.
I'm hearing you're concerned about my happiness.
What's sad is this little rinky-dink transmitter sounds better than a lot of commercial AM stations, especially those that are not maintained well.
You've already said I need somebody to tell I'm thinking like it. When I see you coming down the street, I feel good.
Yeah, as far as the AM broadcast band, I don't look for it to get any better, so if you're going to collect AM-only radios, then something like this transmitter would be beneficial. Because if anything, over-the-air AM is probably going to get worse, and eventually it's probably just going to go away completely in another 10 years, probably. Alright, I moved the transmitter a little bit closer to the radio, and that boosted it. But like I said, the range on this thing is basically nothing, so it's got to be right on top of the radio. Turn that input down some. We got a little distortion. Okay, some final thoughts before we end this. Now, if you were to try to build an enclosure to put this in, I would recommend you not put it in a metal enclosure because that could interfere with your reception, and this thing's flea powered enough as it is. It doesn't need any fleas taken away from it. Probably what I would do is just mount this on a board and then have something like a small playback device next to it, and just have that where you can sit it close by any radio as needed. If you decide to power this from a wall wart, I would probably try to find an older linear wall wart that uses a conventional power transformer, I don't know how well a modern switching wall wart would work with this. As far as interference, we know a lot of these switching wall warts will wreak havoc on AM radio reception, so you want to keep that in mind. But basically all this is just a solid state version of those older tube type phono oscillators and wireless record players that were common during the 30s and 40s, although I think some of the tube phono oscillators have better range than this thing does. But like I said, for no more than this cost, I'm certainly not complaining about it. It seems to be pretty well built and it gets the job done. So with the remainder of time left, we'll go through this thing. Oh yeah, and as far as stereo and mono, even though this bridge is left and right for mono, I've noticed some of the stereo tracks I've been playing through this. You can tell there's some cancellation issues because of probably phase issues. And it's stuff like that is why back in the day, radio stations were sent 45s that were mono on one side and stereo on the other side, so they could play the mono mix on AM radio and not have to worry about phasing issues and that sort of thing. And that's why when I try to record stuff, I try to use as many mono copies as I can. But there are some things that I don't have in mono, so we just have to use what we have. No, don't tell us right now. We might get a copyright strike, and we don't need that.
369, the boots drank wine, the monkey chewed the back on the streetcar line, the line.
And I've tried to get one of the local AM stations to switch to this format here, but they don't want to hear it. They're afraid they might have to pay royalties. They'd rather keep running 10th rate programming if they can get for next to nothing. But I guess they haven't heard that in order to make money, you have to spend money, and if they would actually put something on that people would listen to and promote it, they might get more advertising.
Oh, Lord. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, we're on the good camera now, and I thought we'd take you outside in the daytime. And we're on a circa 1947-48 Telechron 5-tube clock radio. And it actually sounds pretty decent, to be honest with you. Alright, let's see what else we got here before we get a copyright strike. Okay, so there you go. Now, one thing I want to try to do, possibly at a later date, is look at the schematic and see if I can add an external antenna on here to give this thing a bit more range, because having to put it right up next to the radio is a bit inconvenient. It would be nice to have at least enough range to cover the room. And if we could put some kind of audio processor in front of this transmitter, then it would probably sound just as good, if not better, than a commercial AM station. Like I said before, with the poorly engineered crap we got now, in a lot of cases, it wouldn't take much to sound better than some of these commercial stations. And I'd change the transmission frequency to 1330 in remembrance of the old WDAL 1330 AM that we had here. I think that's about the only former AM frequency that's not being used by a newer station. I think WDAL went on the air sometime in the late 50s, early 60s, and then they added an FM counterpart in about 1968, and at some point the FM counterpart was playing beautiful music, and then they changed the 1330 call sign to WJDQ Top 40, and then in 1979 the ratings on the FM station were not doing well, so they moved WDAL back to 1330 and moved WJDQ Q101 to the FM side. WDAL stayed on the air until about 81, I think, playing gospel music and maybe some country, and then they for a little while were simulcasting WJDQ FM, and then in about 85 they moved the frequency to 1240, which was the old WPRN AM frequency out of Butler, Alabama. And then I think WPRN got the 1330 frequency, and WDAL changed the call letters to WYAM, and they ran sort of like an adult contemporary format on AM, but that didn't last but a couple of years. And then until about 1990 they were simulcasting Q101 again, but by 1990 they just gave up the AM, turned in the license, and that was that. I don't think this is showing up too well on the camera, so we might just have to put a scan of this schematic at the end of the video, but yeah, I need to experiment with this and see if I can put a length of wire on here for an external antenna, and that'll give us a little more juice.
Only the echoes of my mind.
It's
Only the shadow. Now listen while I play my green tambourine.
I'll take you to learn. I'll see you.
Say you want a revolution. Well, you know.
Go on back to your bubblegum world. You must do to play with joy.
Never meant to be.
Just bluebird on my shoulder. How's your life since you've gotten older?
Lovely as a summer day. Picture of plastic man. Picture of plastic man. Piece of my heart, oh, baby. I can still remember, it wasn't long ago. Things you used to tell me, you said I had to know.
Everybody said it was a shame, 'cause her mama was a wicked on a chain gang.
Just want to make a pretty world for you and for me.
Goes up, must come down, spinning wheel. That's the way, and let me on. Somebody stop the way, and let me on.
The time of the season, love runs high.
Woman, get your head out of colors. Time to get your butt out of bed. Never met a girl could make me feel the way that you do. You're alright.
In your eyes, it tells me everything I need to know. And the longer I stay
never did give nothing to the Tin Man. Ain't no woman like the one I got. Oh no, it don't come better. Make her happy, does take a lot. She woke up and took me by the hand. She's gonna love me in my Chevy van, and that's alright with me. Oh, what a night. Late December back in '63.
Oh, you're free to go. I got an ace in the hole, a shoulder to cry on, someone to.
When a little while from now, I'm not feeling any less sound, I promise myself to treat myself and visit.
Young dude,
Hey, dude!
carry the news.
You're gonna bed in that blue, out of blue, blue, Mercedes queen. Drive like the devil, she's a human being. Back to the alley. 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's alley. When I'm feeling blue, all I have to do is take a look at you. Girl, I want to be with you all of the time, all day and all of the night. The concrete and the clay beneath my feet begins to crumble, but love will never. Do you believe in magic in a young girl's heart? How the music can free her whenever it starts. Everyone's gone to the moon. Hey, go stupid, stupid, hang on. When I was younger, so much younger than today, there's a new world somewhere they call the promised land. Not unusual to be loved by anyone. It's not unusual to have fun. Keep on running. Keep on hiding. And make it easy on yourself. Make it easy on your. People try to put us to down. Talking about my generation just because we got a pass and a belly full of fire. 7 little bottles of love potion of the night. I got wine every night. Well, I've been all over the big old world. Hey, looking for a ring. I got laid off and said you got a bad call, wants to get it paid off. Look out, kid, it's something you did.
Everybody sunshine, lollipops and rainbows, everything that's one.
And if she should tell you, come closer. And if she tells you, well,
Goose drank wine, the monkey to the back on the streetcar line.
the purpose of a man is to love a woman, and the purpose of a woman is to love a man. I'm in with the in crowd. I go where the in crowd goes. Hey, fandango. Turns cartwheels across the floor. Sets and peppermints the color of time. Who cares what games we choose?
Alright, what we're doing now is simulcasting the Top 40 station, if you want to call it that, into our transmitter. And as you can tell, that sounds pretty decent.
Robert Kennedy will have the power to undercut vaccines and vaccine manufacturing across our country.
Brutal game.
That's the classic country station, and that probably sounds about as good as what FM would sound through a comparably sized AM/FM receiver of the day.
Shared, which I think explains why.
I listen to Caleb a lot.
I listen to it every day.
I don't.
Depending on what metric you look at, I'm ranked the most conservative.
That's not my type of gospel music.
It doesn't go far enough.
Well, the mumble rap station sounds like it's lacking a little bit in more ways than one. Or maybe that was the translator's station for the black gospel station. Okay, so we're working. We'll shut it down now to conserve our battery power. And there we go. Now maybe in a future video we will examine this some more and try to modify this to give it a little more range, but I will put the schematic at the end of this video for your perusal. And I hope you got something out of this. If you were considering buying one of these, maybe this was the deciding factor to buy or not to buy. But like I said, if you can drive it with a headphone signal, and if you don't mind placing it right next to the radio, it'll do okay for you. If you want something with longer range or something that you can drive with a line level signal, then you probably need to consider getting something else. And there are much better models out there than this one, but for $30 this is not bad. Well, I'm sitting here trying to upload my song snippets just to see what's copyrighted and what's not. I tried to edit everything to under 10 seconds, but I think my clock and their clock is off base because there were several content ID matches. For example, this Tom Jones snippet. My clock says, watch it here, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 seconds. But YouTube is claiming that the content is from 6:52 to 7:02. That's 10 seconds. Now I don't know what those MFers don't understand about friggin' fair use. I don't think 10 seconds is going to cost them anything, and no, there's no impact on any of these selections. So with this video not being monetized, that shouldn't be a big deal. But we know what happened with the music channel with Bill Amesbury's Virginia Touch Me Like You Do. That song initially uploaded and said no issues found. And then 2 months later, I get a content ID copyright claim and a copyright strike for it. But despite that, there's still 2 or 3 other ones that's been up there since before mine was, and those haven't been touched. So I'm just really getting fed up with this content ID. Well, we got everything that they ID'd shaved off a little bit, and we're going to run it through again as soon as this gets through saving. And heck, next time they'll probably flag stuff that they didn't flag the first time. But if they do, I don't know what to tell them. I'm not going to keep editing stuff just to keep their panties from getting in a knot. If anything else gets flagged, then all I know to tell them is, all I know to say is, them and Don Henley can go jump in a lake somewhere. I might could understand it if I was uploading full-length versions of the songs, but when all you have up is no more than 10 seconds of a song, then that's not, that I do believe is considered fair use. And they're just getting their panties in a knot over nothing. I don't think 10 seconds is going to cost them any royalties. we're uploading now with the battery about to die. So we're going to see what happens this time. Like I said, they'll probably nail something they didn't get the first time, knowing them. But whatever happens, we're going to let it go through unless something gets blocked somewhere, because I'm just really tired of dealing with this. Well, hot dog, we got it uploaded and it says no issues found this time. So I guess apparently the threshold must be like 7 or 8 seconds now, which is ridiculous, really. I think even Facebook will let you get away with like 12 to 15 seconds. So YouTube is just really getting ridiculous with their stupidity. I guess they're paranoid and afraid they're going to get sued or something. I don't know. Before we end this transmitter video, we have this 1949 Magnavox console. This is one of the better models with two 12-inch speakers and a pair of 6L6s and push-pull. It also has separate bass and treble controls and a selector switch for narrow and wide bandwidth. This might not be a very fair comparison because this set has not been restored. It is just as I found it. But we have the transmitter placed behind the radio because it has to be real close to the antenna for best results. And we're going to see what this sounds like on the wideband mode. Now, when this thing is restored properly, I'm sure it will really go to town. So let's see. Alright, that's wideband mode, and that's narrow mode. Wideband mode, narrow mode. I don't know how well the camera picked that up, but you can tell there is a difference there between wide and narrow. Let's see what else we got.
Tonight we're tracking some northwest winds.
Whoops, that's
gusting up to 30
FM.
miles per hour. It's gonna be chilly the
Well,
next
we can
couple
see
of
what
days.
FM sounds like
Monday,
through
more
this.
Sunshine, highs low 50s. I'm meteorologist Matt Standridge.
But
My recovery, I learned firsthand the challenges.
Ryan Rodriguez with a third.
She's so take
Mix 106.
Okay, I'm ready.
Well, back to the music now on the all-new Mix 106.
I'm from the Skoll Foundation.
I went to the... Or for most. There may be some, you punch somebody in the face, you can see the...
Nothing but the best music.
All the best music.
Positive, encouraging Caleb.
I get this type of feeling you ain't accustomed to. I swear I'll be in peace.
What's going on?
okay, so that sounds us rebroadcasting an FM station through this radio set to wideband mode. Sounds most likely about as good as FM would sound if we had a dedicated FM tuner plugged directly into this thing. And this set has the knockout spot here for an optional FM tuner, but one was never installed, so all we have is standard broadcast in short wave. Okay, let's do this. Get back to where we were, if we can.
You gotta think about.
No, I'm not going to run through the whole gamut again.
Everybody's talking.
Well, I just heard a reduction in audio on the Magnavox, followed by a little static pop, and away it went. So I yanked the plug, and this will have to get a proper restoration one day. Now, nothing's running hot or anything like that, so I don't believe it's anything of that nature, anything serious that took place, but something went bye-bye, so we'll have to tackle this later. But at least you got a pretty good idea as to what this little transmitter is capable of. For a $30 transmitter, it sounds okay. I wish the range was better, but as it is, you basically have to sit this right on top of the radio next to the antenna for best results. Maybe in a future video we will try to modify this to give it a little extra range, but for what it is, it's not bad. But like I've already said, if you buy something like this, you would probably be better to use it with a small device such as an old MP3 player or a cell phone or something like that that you can easily move with the transmitter. And just keep in mind that this is not something for the whole house. This is for right on top of the radio. But there are more expensive models that are suitable for longer ranges, and we'll look at some of those at a later date. But I hope you got something out of all of this, and more to come later.